Ladies and gentlemen, how do?
Hello again, all you lovely people, after the Democrats managed to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory by selling out, with 7 of them voting with the repugnants to end the government shutdown after having Cankles McTaco tits on the ropes with his worst week so far and a massive blue wave that swept across America. We are going to take a look at one Chuck the Schmuck Schumer, the Democratic minority leader in the Senate, his capitulation and bending the knee, a major reason why the repugnants won this vote. Instead of rallying the troops to stand firm in the background, he was saying that those who wanted this terrible deal that offered the Democrats absolutely no guarantees, just vague, meaningless promises, should vote how they want to, while he covered his back. By voting no, that is an abdication of leadership by Chuck E. Cheese sniffer.
The Democratic leader.
Mr. President, America is in the midst of a Republican-made health care crisis, worse than anything the American people have seen in decades. Republicans have spent the past 10 months dismantling the health care system, skyrocketing costs, and making every day harder for American families. Because of Republicans, Americans are going to suffer immensely as this health care crisis gets worse. Democrats have been fighting to end this crisis over and over again. Democrats have wanted to lower costs, but Republicans fought us every step of the way. We gave Republicans not 1, not 2, but 3 chances this year to extend the ACA premium tax credits. Republicans said no every time. On Friday, we offered Republicans a compromise, a proposal that would extend the ACA tax credits for a year and open up the government at the same time. They once again said no. And when they said no on our compromise, they showed that they are against any health care reform. Instead, they passed the biggest health care cuts in our nation's history just to give tax breaks to billionaires, and even then, they weren't satisfied with merely closing hospitals and community health clinics. They callously did nothing to deal with the looming crisis of ACA credits. Premiums will spike by thousands of dollars a month. Millions will lose insurance. Democrats have sounded the alarm. We have demanded for months to meet with the Republican leadership. But Republican leaders refuse to even discuss the issue, let alone negotiate it. We've asked them to meet in the summer and throughout the shutdown. To this day, Republicans still say no. We asked President Trump to step in and meet with us to deliver lower health care for Americans, and instead, Donald Trump has taken the American people hostage, from cutting off food aid to hungry families and vets and seniors and kids, to manufacturing flight cancellations, to cutting off home heating aid, while he builds a billion-dollar ballroom with gold-plated toilets. Therefore, I must vote no. This health care crisis is so severe, so urgent, so devastating for families back home that I cannot in good faith support this CR that fails to address the health care crisis. But let me be clear, however this vote turns out, this fight will and must continue. Democrats must fight because of millions of families will lose health care coverage. We must fight because children who are dying of cancer will not get health care coverage. We must fight because a senior citizen cannot afford to pay $25,000 a year just for health insurance. We must fight to keep millions from financial ruin. And make no mistake about it, the American people know who is inflicting this health care trauma on them: Donald Trump and the Republicans. Americans will remember Republican intransigence every time they make a sky-high payment on health insurance. So we are going to fight legislatively, fight back home, fight in the courts, and bring this fight in the elections. Health care costs made a major impact on the 2025 election, and they will certainly have an even greater impact on the 2026 election. So in conclusion, the contrast between the two parties is crystal clear. Republicans are the party hell-bent on taking people's health care away. all to bow to the billionaire elite and special interests. Democrats are united as the party of lower health care costs and improving our health care system. We will not give up this fight. We will deliver for the American people. I yield the floor.
Now let's compare Grandpa Chuckles with Bernie Sanders and ask who was really fighting for the people and who had done greasy backroom deals. Anything for the easy life, putting on the facade of being against the deal, not putting in the effort to be a true leader and rallying the troops. Chuck the Schmuck is a joke.
Senator from Vermont.
I understand that the way the process has been developed, it is impossible to delay the votes that are going to take place. And if that were not the case, that is certainly what I would do, because I think it is important that the American people fully understand what is being voted on today. Everybody in America knows that our current health care system is broken, it is dysfunctional, it is cruel, it is by far the most expensive health care system in the world, and the only health care system of any major country that does not guarantee health care to all people as a human right, covering every man, woman, and child. We are unique in that respect. And yet tonight, what this Senate is about to do is make a horrific situation even worse. So let's be clear what this vote is about. If this vote succeeds, over 20 million Americans are going to see at least a doubling in their premiums in the Affordable Care Act. In my state of Vermont and throughout this country, for certain groups of people, it will be a tripling and a quadrupling of their premiums. There are people who will now be paying 50% of their limited incomes for health care. Does anybody in the world think that makes sense? And if this resolution is passed tonight, we are on a pathway to throw 15 million Americans off of Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. 15 million. Our job is to create universal health care, guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child, not throw 15 million people off the health care they have, low-income and working-class people. And my friends, know what you are voting on. Studies are out there that when you throw 15 million people off of health care, some 50,000 of our fellow Americans will die unnecessarily every single year. Anyone think that's funny? Something to laugh at? Something to just go past? I don't. 50,000 Americans die unnecessarily. Now, I know as part of this resolution that the majority leader is going to say, well, Democrats can put together their own bill, and it'll come to the floor here in the Senate for a vote. As everybody here knows, that is a totally meaningless gesture. You can get 100 votes here in the Senate. Won't mean anything because the House is not going to take it up, and the President of the United States certainly will not sign it. So, Mr. President, I hope that anybody here who is thinking of voting for this reconsiders, goes back home and talks to their constituents and asks them what it will mean if their health care premiums are doubled or tripled. Thank you, Mr. President. Look, Schumer and I have very fundamental disagreements about where the Democratic Party should be, and I am strongly supporting candidates for the Senate who are not part of the Democratic establishment, who believe in Medicare for all, who are prepared to take on the big money interests and fight for working people. All right, I have a very different vision of where the Democratic Party should go.
Fortunate to be joined this morning by Representative Ro Khanna of California. Great to see you, sir.
Good to see you, sir.
Good morning.
So you tweeted yesterday in response to a number of centrist Democrats caving to the Republicans and voting for this shutdown deal. You tweeted this: Senator Schumer is no longer effective and should be replaced. If you can't lead the fight to stop healthcare premiums from skyrocketing for Americans, what will you fight for? What led you to that conclusion, Congressman?
Just a moral disgust. I mean, I know personally, as I'm sure you do, people whose premiums are going to go up $1,000, $2,000 a month Millions of Americans are literally going to get kicked off healthcare, and we can't fight to make sure that their premiums don't go up after the Tuesday wins. It's just political malpractice. Here you have Donald Trump on the ropes, scrambling, trying to make some deal. And we basically say, well, we don't care if the premiums go up. Like, what do we stand for? So he needs to be replaced and step down. More Democrats need to be calling for that. The only reason they aren't calling for it, let me be blunt, is because you offend a lot of donors. There are a lot of billionaires. There are a lot of donors that contribute to the DSCC, that contribute to Chuck Schumer. But, you know, we've got to make a choice of this party. Are we going to be beholden to the donors that have gotten us 2 terms of Donald Trump, or are we going to listen to people?
Let's also take a look at some of those spineless, bought and paid for establishment Democrat senators that have just pushed 20 million of their fellow Americans off of health care and have condemned approximately 50,000 of them to die each year, shall we? Senator John Uncle Fester Mann of Pennsylvania. This one should come as a surprise to virtually no one, as Fetterman has been a big disappointment since getting into office, but he does have that sweet AIPAC money keeping him warm at night. Festerman has been a consistent vote to end the shutdown since it began, voting more than a dozen times with Republicans to move forward with reopening the government. He's knocked his party for sparking the shutdown and blamed them for government workers missing paychecks and low-income families losing federal food aid, so he claims. I wonder how much private healthcare money has been passed to him in big brown envelopes. Uncle Festerman is a sellout and should have been primaried long ago. Senator Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire certainly proved that she lacks the courage of her convictions. She truly is a ripple on the pond with no wave in her heart. Hassan, who was one of the Democrats who negotiated the vote on the Affordable Care Act tax credits deal, a former New Hampshire governor, she is up for re-election in 2028. Nobody should vote for her after this.
After weeks of bipartisan conversations, I voted today to reopen the government so that we can get back to the work of helping granite staters.
Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois, our tricky Dickie, who constantly likes to take the mickey, is another sellout. Durbin is the Democratic whip and the only member of party leadership who voted with Republicans to advance the deal to end the shutdown. His likely successor as whip senator, Brian Schatz, Democrat, Hawaii, voted against advancing the deal after sticking with Schumer and Durbin in March. He claims this as his defense. This bill is not perfect. It takes important steps to reduce their shutdown's hurt. But he is retiring and had nothing to lose by not voting for this deal.
Just 10 days ago, Illinois Senator Dick Durbin held a news conference warning Americans about Affordable Care Act premiums that may double or triple if Congress does not vote to extend health care subsidies eliminated by the Trump administration.
We believe that we need to act on this and do it now. It's an emergency situation for many families.
The ACA has been at the center of the government shutdown. Durbin supported his political party's position to open the government only if Republicans agree to negotiate a deal to extend ACA subsidies. But now, Durbin has changed his tune.
After a record government shutdown of 41 days and 14 roll calls failing to reopen it, the situation was clear.
Durbin says the situation was clear that Republicans were not going to budge, so Durbin, along with 7 other senators, broke ranks and are supporting a bipartisan measure that fully funds SNAP, veterans benefits, and reverses President Trump's mass firings during the shutdown. But the bill does not include ACA subsidies.
Caving in to people that lie viciously to you isn't the way that we're going to be able to make sure that people are eating and that people are able to keep their health care.
Many Illinois Democrats are furious at Durbin and others who sided with Republicans. They plan to vote no when the bill goes to the House. Senate Republican leader John Thune promised Durbin an opportunity to vote on the ACA in December. House Democrats doubt it will happen.
Taking Thune at his word is a fool's errand, But even if he delivers on that promise, the House has no obligation to bring it up. And Johnson has been very clear that he's not going to bring it up.
In a short speech on the Senate floor today, Durbin explained why using an indefinite government shutdown to protest the policies of the Trump administration had to come to an end.
I share their opinions of this administration, but cannot accept a strategy which wages political battle at the expense of my neighbor's paycheck or the food for his children.
Senator Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada. Cortez Masto has voted 15 times to end the federal government shutdown, even before Democrats had extracted the promise of a vote on the health care tax credits. She repeatedly stated she did not want to inflict sweeping pain on some Americans in order to extract a solution to the impending health care crisis of expiring tax credits. She didn't just become a sellout, she has always been one. She stated this, lines like "I haven't seen since the pandemic," for food banks in Nevada to reporters during the vote Sunday night, and said that opening the government was key to stopping that pain. But Catherine, you don't stop pain by inflicting even more of it, and by voting for this joke of a deal. That is exactly what you have done.
The tariffs are already hitting high costs in my state. That hasn't been addressed by this administration. And my concern is with the shutdown, there's going to be more costs to Nevadans, including not only our workers that are federal workers and so many that are there, our tourism industry, which is a major revenue generator for our state. So that's why it was important for me to vote against a shutdown. But I also think this was an issue that needs to be addressed by the administration. They got to hear from the American public. There is a crisis out there, high costs, looming health crisis, and they should be focused on working on that instead of playing games here about winners and losers. There's a problem, and they need to act like adults, get in a room, and think about the American public.
Senator Jean Shaheen of New Hampshire. Shaheen was an original sponsor of the legislation that created the enhanced Obamacare tax credits that have been central to the shutdown dispute and played a key role in negotiating the vote to extend them. Like Durbin, she is retiring from the Senate next year, so she is another Democratic senator who had nothing to lose by not caving in, but chose to do so anyway, just like Tricky Dicky Durbin. Even her own daughter is disgusted so much by her mother selling out that she is going to run against her.
I understand that not all of my Democratic colleagues are satisfied with this agreement, but waiting another week or another month wouldn't deliver a better outcome. It would only mean more harm for families in New Hampshire and all across the country. And this is only the first step.
Now, after that electoral rout by Democrats less than a week ago, surprisingly, I admit I was wrong. Trump didn't do anything weirder than usual to try to step on the tail of that story, to try to change the subject, to try to make the triumphant Democrats look weak again instead of strong. He didn't do anything different. Now, the people who really changed course, the people who intervened to change the story, to stomp on the tail of that Democratic victory and make the Democrats look weak and confused and divided and aimless, were, of course, the Democrats themselves. Democratic Senate leader Chuck Schumer could not hold his caucus together in the Senate. And so less than a week after those Democratic triumphs in that election, the worst week of Donald Trump's presidency, for some reason, 8 Democratic senators decided this was the right time to give up on the Democrats' previously sturdy and unified demand that Republicans needed to fix the disaster they just created for the American people in health insurance and in health insurance costs. They just decided to give up.
Massive shout out to the lads over on All Shots AI for making my words come to life. Say hello to them. Well, folks, if you enjoyed this video, then not only are you lovely people, but you also have great taste, and you should Also subscribe to the Two Davies for news and politics from a very Scottish perspective, and that rantastic Mr. McGuinness. You should also subscribe to Mr. Daily Blasé's channel for merriment, mischief, and the Friday frolics. Cue growling cat.